Welcome to KRY, a faith-centered space for real conversations, real growth, and real becoming. I'm Krystyna, and I'm not here because I have everything figured out. I'm here because I'm choosing to walk with God even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's messy, even when I don't have all the answers. This podcast is a reflection of that walk. The lessons God is teaching me, the healing He's doing in me, the growth He's calling me into. Here we talk about faith in real life, mental health, identity, discipline, obedience, healing, purpose, not from a place of perfection, but from a place of surrender. Every episode is an invitation to slow down, to reflect, to rise, and to remember who you are in Christ. This is KRY, Kingdom, Renewal, You. And I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to KRY. If you're new here, hi, I'm Krystyna. I'm 26 years old. I'm a fitness trainer, a content creator. I'm a coach, a daughter, a sister, a partner, an aunt, a niece. I'm a woman who loves God and honestly, just a human trying to figure out life in real time. And if you've been here for a while, you might have noticed that I went quiet a little bit recently, but I'm so happy to say welcome back, and I'm really, really grateful that you're here. I want to start this episode a little bit differently than I ever have before. This isn't going to be, like an energetic hype intro, but I want to come to you guys with honesty. There have been seasons in my life where I was very loud online. I was posting constantly, creating, sharing. And then there have been seasons where I got really quiet, like recently. Not because I quit, not because I didn't care anymore, or because I lost passion, but because God was doing something in me that I did not want to rush past. I think sometimes we forget that just because someone isn't visible doesn't mean that they're not growing. Sometimes the deepest growth happens in private, when nobody is clapping, when nobody is watching, when there's no post to prove anything. And honestly, that's what this season has been for me. A season of listening, of reflection, of getting really honest with myself. A season where God is asking me some uncomfortable questions. Questions like, who am I becoming? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Is my life actually aligned with you, or am I just staying busy? And I want to say this clearly before I go any further. I am not coming back to this podcast because I have everything figured out. I'm not coming back with a perfectly packaged message. I'm not coming back as an expert of life. But I am coming back as someone who is choosing again to walk with God, even when it's messy, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when I don't have all the answers. And I think that it's important to say because this podcast is not about me being above you. It's also not about me just preaching at you. It's about me walking with you. So if you're somebody who is trying to grow, if you're somebody who loves God but sometimes feels distant, if you're someone who's disciplined but you're tired, someone who's healing but you're struggling, let me just tell you, you are in the right place. KRY is a faith-centered space for real conversations, real growth, and real becoming. Not perfect people, not polished, highlighted lives, real humans. And I don't take any of that lightly because I know what it feels like to scroll and feel behind, to look at other people's lives and think, why am I not there yet? I know what it feels like to want to be better, but not always know where to start. So again, if you're here, if you're listening right now, I don't believe that that's random. I believe God places us exactly where we need to be when we need to be there. And maybe this podcast is a part of that for you. So to get into today's episode, I want to talk to you guys about something that I feel like we just don't hear enough. You can be productive and still be out of alignment. You can be doing a lot, yet still feel empty inside. You can show up every single day, but still feel like something is missing. And that is where I found myself. From the outside, things probably looked fine. I'm training clients, creating content, building my brand, checking boxes, staying disciplined. But internally, I felt quite a bit of tension. And this wasn't like a loud breakdown or a dramatic crash. This was a persistent, gentle nudge. Like something inside of me is whispering, there's more. Not more success or money or followers, but more depth, more intention, and more alignment. And for a while, I ignored it. Because let's be honest, we're really good at ignoring whispers when life looks okay on paper. I've gone through those phases, and this has, yes, been recently, but I've been through the phases of telling myself, I'm just tired, I'm exhausted, or I just needed to push harder, or I'm just being dramatic. But that nudge did not go away. And eventually, taking time off, I realized that God is not asking me to do more, He's asking me to slow down. And to be quite frank, that was very uncomfortable and hard for me to hear because I am a doer. I am disciplined. I like structure. I like momentum. I like things organized. I like when I'm following a plan. And slowing down felt like falling behind. But I started to understand something. Slowing down isn't the same as quitting. Pausing is not the same as failing. And being still is not the same as being lazy. Sometimes being still looks like obedience. And we can all agree that obedience doesn't always look impressive. I mean, there were days where I didn't feel inspired or I didn't feel on, but I kept choosing small, quiet things: prayer, journaling, sitting with God, being honest with myself about my fears, about my insecurities, about where I've been relying on myself instead of Him. And that's when I realized something very important, that I don't want to build a life that looks good. I want to build a life that feels aligned. And I don't want to just motivate people. I want to walk with people towards God. I want to be known for being faithful, not for having all the answers. And that's the shift. That's why Cry had to change. Not because the old version was bad or because, I'm ashamed of who I was. It's because I'm not the same person I was. And that just screams to me growth. And honestly, I hope that's the same for you. I hope you're not the same person you were last year. Heck, even last month. We're always constantly able to grow. There's always room for improvement. And I feel like once you understand that and are aware of it, that is when the game changes. And honestly, to me, awareness is everything, which is exactly why I want to talk to you guys about what cry actually means. Because this was not a random name change, it wasn't a branding idea that I forced. It came from sitting with God, from journaling, from praying, from asking, what is the heart of what I'm building? And what kept coming up over and over again is this phrase: kingdom, renewal, you. Yes, KRY is the first three letters of my name, but I knew that keeping this name, there was something deeper attached to it. And I wrote it down. I just knew that this is not just a title, this is a way of living. So I want to walk you through this slowly. Kingdom. Kingdom means God first, not when God is convenient, not God when I'm desperate, and not God when things are falling apart. God first, even when things are going well. God first, even when I don't understand. God first, even when I don't like what He's asking me to release. And I'm going to be honest, there have been areas of my life where I said God was first, but my decisions did not always reflect that. I was asking God to bless plans that I never actually surrendered. I was asking for peace while still gripping for control. And God, in His kindness, started showing me that kingdom is not about perfection, it's about priority. It's waking up and asking, God, what do you want from me today? Not, hey God, how can I fit you into my agenda? How do I align my agenda with you? No, God first. Kingdom is choosing obedience over optics, choosing depth over attention, and integrity over image. And to be quite real, kingdom looks very unglamorous. It looks like saying no, slowing down, disappointing people, doing the right thing quietly. And I'd rather build something slow with God than build something fast without Him. That is kingdom. And then moving on to renewal. Renewal means I am not who I was, but I'm also not who I'm becoming yet. Renewal is in the middle. It's the in between process. It's the daily choice to show up again and again, even if things are ordinary and just your regular, normal, everyday tasks. I just think a lot of us want transformation to feel like this big moment, kind of like a flip switch, or like we wake up one day and suddenly everything's different. That is a big illusion. Real change is quieter than that. It is small decisions. It's choosing consistent effort, choosing better even when it's boring. Renewal is waking up and saying, you know what? No, today I choose growth. Even if yesterday was messy, even if last week was hard, even if I messed up, renewal says I'm not disqualified because I struggled. I'm not broken beyond repair. I am still in the process. And I love that God does not rush renewal. He is patient, He is gentle, He is intentional, and He's more concerned with who you're becoming than how fast you get there. So when I say renewal, I mean giving yourself permission to grow slowly and honestly. We're not faking healing, we're not pretending, we're not rushing the process. We are showing up. And then lastly, there's you. Because as much as God guides us, as much as God strengthens us and walks with us, we still have a responsibility. You still have to choose. You choose your habits, you choose your mindset, you choose your environment, your boundaries, your obedience, your attitude, the way you react, the way you respond. And God will open doors, but you still have to walk through them. God will give you clarity, but you have to act on it. God will offer healing, but you still have to do the work. You matter in this process. Your choices matter, your consistency matters, your honesty matters. And I think sometimes we either put everything on ourselves or we put everything on God. KRY lives in the middle. God leads, we follow. God provides, we participate. That is you. So when I say KRY, I'm saying God first, growth daily, personal responsibility. So I'm saying, yeah, I'm not perfect. I'm not finished, but heck, I'm committed. And this podcast exists as a space for people who are committed, not committed to looking perfect or having it all together, but committed to becoming, committed to walking with God, committed to doing the work. That's it. That's the heart of KRY. So now that you do know a little bit about the rebrand, I want to talk to you for a minute, like really talk to you. Because if you're still listening right now, I don't believe that's random. I don't believe people accidentally find things that speak to their season. I think some of you might have clicked on this episode because you're tired. Not physically tired, but soul tired. You've been trying to be strong. You've been trying to stay disciplined, to keep going, but quietly you feel worn down. This podcast is for you. It's for the person who loves God but doesn't always feel close to Him. Maybe you pray sometimes, you believe, but you also doubt, and you feel guilty about that. So when I say this, I need you to hear me. Doubt does not mean you don't have faith. It just means that you're human. Faith is not the absence of questions. Faith is choosing to keep showing up even with questions. And this podcast is for the person who is healing, maybe, but still gets triggered, who still has bad days, still has moments where they fall back into old patterns. No, you're not broken. You're not a failure. You're in process. And this podcast is for the person who is disciplined, but maybe sometimes feels empty. You do the workouts, you drink the water, you eat better, you try to journal, you try to be productive. But deep down, you're still like, why do I feel off? Because discipline without alignment eventually feels hollow. And alignment starts with God. This podcast is for the person who knows they're meant for more, but doesn't know what more actually looks like yet. You just need a pull. You feel that calling. You feel something inside of you, but it's not fully clear. So, before we even move on any further, just know that you do not need the whole map. You just need the next step. And that next step is a small step. And to be honest, I feel like social media has made us believe that growth is loud, that transformation is obvious, that healed people never struggle. But newsflash, that's not real. Real growth is quiet. Real growth is repetitive. It's choosing again and again and again. So if you feel behind, you're not. If you feel late, you're not. If you feel messy, you are not disqualified. You're simply becoming. And this space exists to remind you of that. Not to rush you, not to shame you, not to pressure you, but to walk with you. You don't have to do this alone anymore. You're safe here, you're seen here, and you belong here. So, before we bring this episode to a close, I want to end every episode with something practical, not just something that sounds good or feels inspiring in the moment, but something that you can actually take with you into your week. Because transformation doesn't happen from listening, it happens from applying, from taking action. And there has been a verse sitting on my heart recently for the past, I'd say, week or so now, that has just been sharing so much insight with me about what I need to do, which is take action. James chapter 1 verse 22. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Like I said, this verse, it convicts me in the best way because it reminds me that I can't just collect information. I can't just highlight verses or save sermons. I actually have to live it. And I think a lot of us are really good at consuming podcasts, videos, books, quotes, but we struggle with consistency. We know what to do, we just don't always do it. So, I want to give you three simple takeaways from this episode. As you go on with your week, I want you to ask yourself and journal on this. Is the way I'm living aligned with what I say I believe? Not in a way where you're shaming yourselves or condemning yourself, but in an honest way. Alignment does not mean perfection, it simply means direction. Are your habits pointing you towards God or away from Him? Are your routines building you? Or could they be numbing you? You don't have to change everything at once. You just have to be willing to notice. And then the next thing is to choose one small daily renewal habit. Renewal does not start with a massive life overhaul. Again, I'm going to emphasize the one small decision done consistently. So maybe that looks like 5 minutes of prayer. Maybe that's journaling one page. Maybe that's reading one chapter of the Bible. Maybe that's going for a 10-minute walk without your phone. Small done daily beats big done once. So don't underestimate what God can do with your consistency. And the last thing is take personal responsibility. No, I don't want you to be harsh on yourself, but I want you to feel empowered by this. No, we know you're not stuck, you're not cursed, you're not doomed. Every single human in this world is capable of change. And with God's help and your willingness, you don't have to wait for motivation. You don't have to wait for Monday. You don't have to wait for a new year to start. You don't have to wait for that perfect moment because there is no perfect moment. Start exactly where you are, start small, and start today. And I'm going to let you guys in on a challenge I'm doing myself, which is setting aside 20 minutes, no phone, no distractions, just me and God. grab my notebook, and I'm writing out these three things. Where do I feel out of alignment in my life? What is one habit I need to release? And what is one habit I need to build? You have to pray over what you write. But before you can pray over what you write, first you need to get to writing. Ask God for clarity, ask God for strength, ask God for willingness. Pray over this and commit to one small action that's going to help you get there. Not 10 things, just one. And to end off today's podcast, I want to read Romans 12, verse 2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewal starts in the mind. What you think about, you move towards. So guard your mind this week. Be intentional about what you consume. Be intentional about what you speak over yourself. And going forward, every single episode is going to give you something to reflect on, something to apply and carry into your week. And again, this is not about being perfect, it's about being committed. So if you're willing to commit even a little, God will meet you there. And I'm really proud of you for pressing play today. This is KRY, Kingdom Renewal You. So I do just want to say before I go, thank you for being here and thank you for taking the time to listen. I don't take that lightly at all. But if this episode did speak to you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who might need it and connect with me on my other platforms so we can stay in touch outside of the podcast. I am so thrilled that you are a part of this community. But as always, you guys, I will chat with you on the next one.